So today's session is entitled Mastering Customer Experience for Financial Services. My name is Kevin Miller, and I'm the VP of Marketing and Sales here at ClearGoals. We're going to go through a couple of quick slides before we get into the actual body of the presentation to give you a sense of who ClearGoals is, the work that we do with the IBM Tealeaf product, and of course, set up what we're going to look at when we get into the actual product demonstration portion of today's session. Today's session will last approximately 45 minutes. We encourage everybody to ask questions throughout the session, and you may do so with the GoToWebinar panel. At the end of the session, time permitting, we will field all the questions. We will read the question out loud, but we won't read your name, and we won't read your company name. With that, we'll go ahead and begin the session. A little bit about who ClearGoals is and why we believe we have the right to talk to you today about these topics. First and foremost, we are a global technical marketing services firm. And by technical marketing services firm, what we mean by that is ClearGoals is set up in such a way that we do both implementation, configuration, and customization of complex marketing products, such as IBM Unica, Tealeaf on Cloud, IBM Marketing Cloud. We're a company that is 100% focused on the different products inside of the IBM Watson Marketing Suite, of which Tealeaf is one of those products. And Tealeaf is the focus of today's session. We were founded in 2007 by ex-Unica employees. Unica is a product that is now part of the IBM Watson Marketing. It was known as IBM Campaign. We operate from offices in New York, Montreal, Philadelphia, and Atlanta. And as I mentioned, the company is 100% focused on the IBM marketing technology stack, which includes the customer experience analytics package. We're proud to say that we provide the largest pool of full-time IBM marketing consultants in North America. And again, this includes IBM Campaign, IBM Marketing Cloud, and of course what we're going to discuss today, which is the Tealeaf product suite. Joining me today is Eric Moskowitz and Tim Terrell. Eric and Tim join us from New York City, and they are our principal data scientists who work predominantly with the Tealeaf product. And they're going to take over about midway through the presentation today to cover off on the product information and the live product demonstration. Today's agenda, we've gone through the introductions. We'll get a little bit into some discussion around customer experience, the importance of customer experience in financial services, why it matters, what are some of the trends that we're seeing, how we leverage customer experience technology to gain competitive advantages and reduce churn of customers, how we use CX to gain a competitive advantage in a commodity industry oftentimes, how do we stand apart from our competitors using this technology. So these are the topics we're going to get into, and then we're going to switch over and go to demonstration mode. So first and foremost, the battleground of customer experience. Gartner study took a look at where customer experience fit in terms of competitiveness of companies, and 89% of companies found in the survey are going to compete mainly on customer experience they provide. The battle line's been formed, and you're either going to exceed the expectations of your customers or you're going to fall short. What is driving the need for excellent customer experience, particularly in financial services and banking? First and foremost, we look at a mobile generation of customers, our millennials. It's very important to understand that not only are we thinking about how to be competitive today, but then how to be competitive for an entirely new generation of financial services customers who've grown up on the internet, who've grown up using their mobile devices for just about everything that you can use a mobile device for, including banking. There's fee erosion from regulatory constraints. There's direct pay coming from vendors, with a common example being used there for the Starbucks example, where people are doing direct pay cards and bypassing banks altogether. There's competition by online vendors who are offering no-fee services, which are eroding the services per household oftentimes at our financial institutions. So when you take in these external factors and you add them up, the sum total of which we're dealing in a highly regulated, highly competitive environment, and we're being forced to adapt to two vastly different types of consumers. A traditional consumer, which is a branch banking consumer, somebody who's going to go into that branch on a weekly basis, and that's somebody that we still have to obviously support and give great customer experience to. And then there's also an entire generation of people who may very well have never stepped foot inside of a bank branch or never intend to step foot inside of a bank branch to do their financial planning and their financial services and their retail banking. So we have to address both of those customers, and then we also have to be able to adapt to an ever-changing regulatory environment and an ever-changing and ever-growing competitive environment. With respect to the regulations that are transforming the industry, the banking industry itself, as we all know, is being transformed by very tight regulatory controls, compliance requirements. It changes the way companies can engage with their customers, how quickly they can engage with their customers. There was a study done in conjunction with Thomson Reuters on the cost of compliance back in 2013. This was updated in 2015 by IBM. Looked at a lot of different metrics. Some of the things that came about that were interesting were that 6,000 lines of code are being added every week to a bank's website just to cope with regulations. Okay. There's also 36% spending an annual of 1 to 2 months of time annually just maintaining compliance reports. I want to note as well as we're going through this that we have for our organizers, one of the organizers just joined, your phone is not muted. So whichever organizer just joined, please make sure that you mute your phone. Thank you. Perception versus reality. There's been a myriad of studies around customer experience within the last several years, not just in financial services, but across a broad array of industries where customer experience is critical. The places that we see it most are in financial services, telecommunications, and retail. Particularly online retail. One of the things that consistently comes back from these studies, this was a study done in 2012, Stepping Up to the Challenge was the name of the study, and reworked in 2014, looked at perception of the CEOs relative to their customer experiences. And 80% of CEOs surveyed felt that they had superior customer experiences. Now, what they did was they cross-referenced what the consumers felt about the customer experience. And only 8% of customers at the same companies agreed that they provided superior customer experience. Why is there this difference? And one of the things, you know, that the study went on, and this is something we've looked at in a number of ways as well, was that sometimes we get blinded by high-level KPIs. If we're looking at, let's say, in just purely in a retail banking, if we're looking at a metric like services per household, and if we've got an increase of 2% year over year in services per household, we may look at that and say, wow, we're doing a fantastic job with customer experiences because the services per household have increased. Now, that may or may not tell the full story. We tend to get blinded by high-level KPIs. We're not looking deeper into the interactions that people are having with us, especially online and mobile interactions. This is where the new type of analytics come into play. They're so valuable to companies, things like struggle analytics, and that's one of the terms that's come up recently, where we actually have a follow-up webinar coming up that's just going to look at this thing called struggle analytics. Really getting into understanding how people are interacting with you online and where they're running into problems online is going to be a critical factor in truly understanding what the experience of a customer is like, or even getting into, if we look at it from a marketing point of view, not necessarily from a customer service point of view, what do customer journeys look like? How do we map out what the journey of a customer is with respect to, you know, the communications that we're putting out, things along those lines. So there's deeper ways to look at the information. A lot of times executives get blinded by a percentage or a specific KPI metric, and they assume that that metric equals great customer experience, and they don't necessarily do. Connecting the digital with the physical. No more so than in financial services and banking, you have a duality in your customer base. You have those customers that will simply never step foot in a bank branch. And then you have those customers who faithfully go into those branches and they want to interact with the tellers, and the tellers know their name, and vice versa. So you have two vastly different type of customers that you have to deal with. So you have to provide great experience both at the branch level as well as the online level and the mobile banking level. But then there's also the notion of support and service. How do we tie in what's going on online with a traditional call center, a support call center, I should say. And creating that right balance between the digital and physical is essential to having a unified customer experience. So when banks were surveyed on this, 64% of banks said they have a weak digital physical strategy or they don't have one at all. 26% of banks felt they performed better by using an integrated strategy. So what would an example of an integrated strategy be? An integrated strategy would be if you've got the ability to capture a person's path through your website, and if they're getting to a certain area in your website and struggling with it, whether it's a form or an application or a download of a statement, and they're struggling with a particular area, what the struggle analytics do is they find that commonality and they identify it and they point it out. And then when a person calls into a call center with that problem, they're prepared and they can actually go in to the analytics and view the path that a particular person took through a website, almost like replaying it like a video, so they can see exactly what a person did leading up to the point where they had trouble online. Those type of integrations between the digital and the physical, in this case the web and the call center, are able to reduce call times, reduce the amount of calls altogether, etc. And when we look at a couple of case studies, we'll get into a few of these before we get into some of the discussion around the actual product. Couple of things. So Dollar Bank, this is a bank that has very popular digital services, very focused on it, and then their digital services were booming. What they wanted to do was drive customer retention and acquisition by ensuring that there were these quote-unquote seamless customer journeys online. The transformation that they went to, they utilized IBM's suite of customer experience analytics, and what they did was they identified and implemented these experience improvements online, similar to what I was just talking about, where they were able to go in and identify problems that people were having with the online applications. And they were able to boost what was called their first call resolution by 30%, which obviously lifted their customer satisfaction. As we all know, when you call into a call center, if you've got to go through multiple steps and you've got to talk to one person, then be put on hold and switched over to another specialist, et cetera, that can be a very frustrating experience for a consumer who wants instant gratification. So being able to do first call resolution obviously increased the satisfaction. It obviously reduces cost as well. So some good benefits came out of that. The key results was they had a 25-second reduction in average call center times, boosting efficiency. That's great. 30% fewer call escalations increased customer sat and also reduced cost. And they had rapid resolution of sticking points, which was protecting revenues. Sticking points in an online banking application can be absolutely critical from a revenue point of view, especially when you've got people that may be applying for loans or applying for new services and they're not getting through all the way. Seeing through the eyes of the customer to keep itself at the forefront of digital banking, Dollar Bank had selected the CX software suite. It enabled it to gain a very deep understanding of online customer journeys and helped it to overall enhance the customer experience. At a very plain and simple level, what they were able to do is when somebody was having a problem and when they ended up in the call center's hands, the call center was able to go in, replay that interaction, pinpoint exactly where the problem had occurred, and then deal with it in a much shorter time period. So some very good results came out of that with Dollar Bank. Zions Bank would be another good example. So they gained insights into mobile users' behavior. They increased completed applications by 72% and improved response time by 60%. So what was the problem that they were trying to deal with? They launched a new mobile banking platform, but they didn't have any insight whatsoever into the users' reactions to it. They wanted online applications that were easy to navigate, but they were unable to resolve customer issues in a timely manner. What they did was they implemented a module of Tealeaf called Impact Mobile Web, and what it allowed them to do is get real-time insights into how the user's behaviors varied by region, mobile and web, of course. And they then identified, they analyzed, they addressed these issues in the online application, and they completely streamlined the new account processing process. They identified and were able to replay the user sessions to resolve the issues immediately. They changed the mobile banking roadmap as a result of this to better reflect how users behaved. So, if there's any UX specialists on, a lot of times user experience folks for the web or digital side will be interested in these type of topics. There's no better metric that you can get than watching people work their way through a certain application or watch them work their way through a website and understanding where the sticking points are and then removing those sticking points. And today, if somebody's on your site and they're working their way through an application and they continue to get stuck in a certain part, who's to say they're not going to go out, hit Google, find your nearest competitor, and move on to their website? That's what we're trying to prevent on the churn side of the fence. So they evaluated the user's behavior and they made specific modifications to their design which better matched how people were interacting. 72% lift in completion rate of online applications was the outcome of this. They improved customer support response time by 60 to 70%. That was that whole ability to replay a person's struggle points. Critical. That's not the only way these technologies, these customer experience technologies, are used in financial services. What I did, I pulled out a couple of examples just to highlight how they're used. So number one, use case, advanced business impact analysis benefits. Quickly compare business impact or lost revenue of different site issues and prioritize to drive site improvements. Okay, so this is UX type stuff, user experience development. As you're developing a site, you're putting these analytics in place so that you can watch the behavior of individuals through your sites and your applications. Find the sticking points and remove them, streamline them and improve them, generally make the experience better for the end user. Use case two, there's advanced segmentation which comes along with this, and analysis. The benefits of it are it helps you better understand complex customer behavior, repeat customer actions. What are people doing over and over and over again? What are the most common paths that people take through an app or through a website? And how can you look at that to make overall site improvements and streamline? Proactively monitor key site processes like application processes. Real-time awareness into where people are abandoning, understanding your overall online processes better. It allows you to take action to preserve or improve your success rates. Overall, it drives site improvements. Site improvements are going to come in pretty much each and every time. Use case four, proactively monitor customer experience KPIs, such as things like credit card conversion, site usability, application performance, real-time awareness into these trends. It prompts action to preserve or improve success rates, and of course, it drives site improvement. Use case five, replay and analyze sessions identified by analytics funnel reports. This is something we'll get into in the demonstration portion. It allows you to pivot directly from a report into the Tealeaf solutions to actually watch and view sessions where people are struggling. It allows you to validate the trends, such as exactly where people are abandoning an application. This drives site improvements, improves conversion, improves revenue, and improves retention. Utilize data gleaned from Tealeaf for multi-channel analysis. Cross-channel business decisions, understand where people are hitting web and applications and call centers and combining all those different channels into a single view of how a customer is interacting with you. A great example, especially when we get into the blending of experience, support, and marketing, is proactive remarketing, so email follow-up to impacted customers. So when you identify a problem and then you identify all the individuals who've had that similar problem, to proactively reach out to them, maybe through an automated email campaign saying, we've improved our site or we've improved this process, we invite you to come back, has tremendous benefits on capturing revenue that you may have lost if you didn't do that. So throughout the first part of the presentation, we've looked a lot at what some of the issues are out there, what some of the benefits are to customer experience technology. Tealeaf is a product that was acquired by IBM a few years ago. It's a very advanced analytics tool that was originally available predominantly in an on-premise version. And today, it's widely being used as a cloud, Tealeaf on cloud version, which means it's much less expensive than it used to be. And it's much more cost-effective for financial services firms, big and small. So it's predominantly an analytics application that captures qualitative details of every single digital interaction. It provides visibility, insight, and answers to organizations to confirm digital channels are consistently delivering a great experience to their customers, basically. Key things with it: high fidelity replay. to visualize customer experience. Fantastic piece of technology where you can actually go in to the individual level and see exactly how people click through your site and move through your site and where they ended up hitting certain trouble spots. Experience Analytics understands at an aggregate level where the main struggle points are to your website or to your mobile applications. There's a value proposition, obviously, that comes along with this. Analyze customer behavior and data. It allows you to uncover trends, contextual insights, prescriptive replay to significantly reduce customer dispute investigations. When you start getting into financial services, Tealeaf actually has multiple uses within a financial services organization. One of those is dispute resolution and fraud detection. Because again, it is monitoring the path that people are taking through applications, mobile web, and website. Assess the mobile customer experience. Assess it and figure out where you need to make improvements. Again, customer experience, many would agree, is the battleground where companies are going to succeed or fail in the future. So understanding and assessing how people are interacting with you at a mobile level and via the web is just an absolute criticality for companies. Impact analysis. Prioritize and reduce time of issue identification and resolution, decreasing support costs. So there is that cost justification with it. There's also, of course, the ability to increase. When most folks talk about ROI and financial impact of CX technology, a lot of times they will speak in terms of revenue, right? So if we can figure out where people are bailing on an application and we can fix that, that's going to ultimately lead to increased revenue. But there is that reduction in cost as well, capital expense, et cetera, by being able to pinpoint where problems are, eliminating those, therefore eliminating the workload on the call center. Building enterprise-wide customer experience competency, creating a common language and a feedback loop across all e-commerce stakeholders. Now with that, I want to invite Tim Tyrell, one of our data scientists here at ClearGoals. Come on, Tim, if you could just do a check 1, 2, 3 so we can know we can hear you. I'm going to kind of turn the reins over to you.
Check 1, 2, 3.
Great. You're coming through loud and clear.
All right, thanks, Kevin. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Tealeaf and how it works, and more specifically, Struggle Analytics. So Tealeaf captures every user interaction, and it does this by capturing all the events that are existing on the DOM, so all clicks, hovers, value changes, any activity basically that the browser can recognize. And in addition, it also is capturing the full HTML content of the server response. So between the DOM events of the user and the HTML of the server response, you can actually rebuild the page and visually replay the session just as the user experienced it. So the benefits of this is we can aggregate this data and put it all together and identify user struggles across the page and find out, most importantly, why they occur. So Tealeaf also allows for some complex reporting. You can put this data together to create your own reports. There's some out-of-the-box reports, but it makes it very easy to build complex reports based on what you're looking for. Also, all of Tealeaf's operations are done on IBM's cloud architecture, so there's negligible impact on the site performance.
Tim, want to make sure we're on the right slide. Tim, want to make sure we're on the right slide.
Yeah, we're good.
Good.
So one general theme across Tealeaf is the ability to look at big picture data and drill down as granular as you're looking to do. So the first pane you're looking at all the way on the left is going to be your dashboard. So this is all the widgets or reports that you've created of the data that you're most interested in, and you can pull down each one of these visualizations and go as deep as you'd like. So the second pane shows a process funnel. So if you're interested in specifically drop-off of a multi-step process like completing a transaction or a loan application, your first step might be just arriving at your home screen, and the final step is submitting that application, so you can see the drop-off as these steps happen. So this particular funnel, we're looking at a pretty big drop-off after the first step, so we can actually just open up those sessions of people that dropped off after that first session. And in the third panel, we can see we can try to figure out what happened. And we can see in the third pane that this user specifically experienced an error on the page, so that gives us some idea as to why that happened. Next slide. So this is what brings us to Struggle Analytics. So Struggle Analytics is a new feature in Tealeaf. This is powered by a machine learning algorithm that's designed to detect and help to anticipate user struggles on the website. It uses a few out-of-the-box factors to determine struggle, and those being long page load times, high step counts, potentially series of repeated actions. And then allows you to, and then determines it where there's struggle. So what you're looking at on the right-hand side would be more or less the dashboard for Struggle Analytics. And each one of these boxes is one page on your site, and it's showing 5.6% of the users that visited that page experienced some sort of struggle with a confidence factor of 92. So this will give you some idea of where there's struggle on your website. And also I'll add one, of course, with this, like all other aspects of Tealeaf, you can obviously drill down into finding out exactly what's happening in that 5.6% and seeing if you can identify the struggle. So now on the next page, I wanted to identify that Struggle Analytics is highly configurable. So what you're looking at is your ability to add additional factors that determine struggle. So I mentioned the three that come out of the box, so long load times, step counts, or repeat patterns. You can also add other events that you know directly correlate to struggle on your website, so customized for your particular business. And then you can also weight them depending on how important this is to you. So after you've weighted them, you can see the resultant portions of all the struggle factors on the right-hand side of that pie chart. You can add up to 20 of your individual customized event struggle factors, which is pretty nice. And you can also set thresholds and just get an alert to tell you when you want to know, if you want to know when the struggle factor percent gets above a certain level. And Eric's going to talk a little bit more about that in the demo. And one last thing I want to mention before we, next slide, before we move on to the demo is I mentioned that Struggle Analytics is a machine learning algorithm. So it works by feedback, and it works by learning when it detected struggle incorrectly and correctly. So this gives you the opportunity to give feedback to the algorithm and tell it when it did it accurately and not, so that it can continue to learn and get better at identifying struggle on your website. So I'm going to turn it over to Eric so he can show you in real time a little bit of how this works.
Okay, Eric, I've passed control over to you. I'd like to introduce Eric Moskowitz. Eric, again, is one of our data scientists here at ClearGoals, specialist in the Tealeaf product and generally customer experience technology. So, Eric, you should have control and should be able to share your demo screen. Great, I see it.
Okay, great. So, hi everyone, I'm Eric Moskowitz. What you're seeing now is basically the landing screen of the Struggle Analytics pane of Tealeaf. It's one section of Tealeaf among a couple of other analytics panes. And here you see a couple of data visualization widgets that have already been created and instrumented to observe three different screens in a e-commerce platform. Of course, this is a bot created environment right now, but the concepts are exactly the same for how you would instrument various portions of a for instance, a loan application web app in order to monitor customer struggle on different areas, different milestones along whatever success path you define for an end user of such an application. So in each widget, you have a couple of sections. You've got a count of the total number of user sessions that have passed through a particular page. So for instance, this checkout page, this checkout widget is associated to a particular URL, as is payment and registration. And so within the checkout widget, it's red because the threshold for the percentage of total sessions that have passed through struggle analytics that have exhibited struggle is above a certain threshold, which you can't see from this interface right now, but it's been set to 4%. So if a widget breaches 4% of all sessions that have passed through struggle analytics exhibiting some kind of struggle, it turns red, otherwise it's blue. That again is what that percentage number means. And what the struggle score is a confidence level that the Tealeaf machine learning algorithm has as to how confident the algorithm is that the 6.4% of sessions exhibiting some kind of struggle really did exhibit struggle. And also on this page, you have the opportunity to view not only an aggregate data visualization through these widgets, but also a top 10 view of straight session lists, that is, of the top 10 struggling sessions across all pages that you've instrumented struggle analytics to observe. In this case, these top 10 are drawn, of course, from the 3 pages that have been instrumented here, checkout, payment, and registration. So what happens when we click into one of these widgets? We're going to see a visualization, a graph visualization of the same concepts we were just talking about, which the widget shows in an aggregate. This shows the same concepts happening over time. Specifically, this is time frame the past few days from the 27th. Again, you have 525 sessions, 6.4% of which have indicated some kind of struggle, and this 100 on a scale of 0 to 100 indicates that the machine learning algorithm that underpins the system is very, very confident that all of those 6.4% of sessions exhibited struggle. And then below, you again have a top 10 struggling session list, although this top 10 list is drawn specifically from these 525 sessions that pass through the checkout widget, as you can see right here. This is only for the checkout page, not for the other 2 pages. So it gives you a sense of this sub-segmentation ability that is inherent to struggle analytics. You can have a sub-segmentation shown like this for any individual URL that you instrument struggle analytics to observe. And then, of course, the deepest level of drilling down. Remember, the whole idea with Tealeaf is you drill down from a high-level aggregate data visualization of a large cohort of user sessions into sub-cohort, such as users only pass through the checkout page, all the way down into individual user sessions. So we can click in from here and view a replay of an individual session, and we can diagnose exactly what's happening here in the same way that we would diagnose any other user session that we drilled down into from another analytics section of Tealeaf, of which, again, struggle analytics is just one. It's the newest, though. This is a feature that was added by IBM at the end of 2016. And so again, from here you can view an exact reconstruction of an individual's real-life browsing experience on an e-commerce platform. This, again, is a more traditional-looking web store. The concept and mechanics, though, are exactly the same if this were a loan application web app, where the different fields would represent, entering in personal information, entering in financial information, If the landing page could be, in that context, could be something to the effect of searching for different financial products, different loan terms. There might be a search box, there might be a submit button, there would be a list of results. You would see a customer walking through each of those milestones in the success path, reconstructed here faithfully in session replay, and be able to replay them and understand exactly what an individual, what kind of an experience an individual was having on your property. And again, this is the lowest level of drilling down. You can pivot from here if you find a problem and say, hey, I want to see every single session that exhibited the same kind of problem that I'm seeing here, and you have the ability to do that. Not similarly, but in addition, rather, this is the point at which you would teach the machine learning algorithm as to whether you are indeed seeing something that looks like a struggle to you by clicking into the survey and giving your comments, giving your feedback. And in this way, struggle analytics acts as essentially a crowdsourcing mechanism for the Tealeaf intelligent, the machine learning algorithm that underpins struggle analytics to learn what the real life definition of customer struggle is over time. And that is going to change over time. Customer tastes change, the web is constantly changing, user interface preferences are constantly changing, and Tealeaf is going to be able to change with that because it has the ability to take into account feedback from analyst users. And the analyst user, of course, is able to integrate their knowledge of their own customers into that feedback. Finally, Tealeaf Struggle Analytics is configurable. If we move back out into the widget pane here, we can see once this loads that that there is the ability to, this will load. Let's try reloading that. Each of these struggle factors are configurable. You have the ability to adjust the weighting of the out-of-the-box factors that Tim mentioned, the 3 out-of-the-box factors of struggle, in addition to telling the Tealeaf Struggle Analytics algorithm how important user-created factors are that you know are areas or events that happen on your web property that you want to monitor and be particularly vigilant about. So if we click into editing struggle factors, you can see that we have a couple of user-generated events that monitor struggle that have been added as event factors in addition to the 3 out-of-the-box factors that are provided by IBM as part of the struggle analytics. And we can adjust how important these are. These numbers to the right are metric lists, relative indicators of how important we want each factor to be. We can adjust these and see a visualization of importance of each factor off to the right in the pie chart. Similarly, we can map new pages. We can map new pages that represent milestones or micro conversions, if you want, in the success path of an end user customer. We can integrate logic as to whether we want to filter out certain URLs or whether we want to add fractions of new basically URL fragments. You can add new pages off to the left here and construct your logic as to which pages for struggle analytics to monitor from these drop-downs. And then lastly, in terms of configurability, you can set thresholds and alerts to let the machine learning algorithm know that beyond a certain point where the aggregate session list, excuse me, the aggregate number of sessions passing through struggle analytics exhibit struggle, to alert members of your organization that there's a problem on a page, just similarly like the checkout widget right now is red. At the point at which it would have turned red, an alert could have gone out to both the development team and the business strategy team, whose email addresses you can add here, and name this alert so that they know that there's an issue on the checkout page, or any other of the microconversion milestones that you know are important in the success process of an end user, to diagnose, fix, learn from, and understand how to optimize your property in the future to avoid. What these numbers mean is this 0 to 100 is a threshold of confidence that struggle has occurred in the sessions that have passed through struggle analytics, and this percentage is the threshold for the alert to go out or for the widget to turn from blue to red. Under 4% right now we're saying we're okay with. If the total number of struggling sessions that pass through Tealeaf struggle analytics goes beyond 4%, alert goes out, widget turns red, we jump into action. So that's basically a high-level walkthrough of the struggle analytics pane in Tealeaf. Again, the general idea is like other analytics panes in Tealeaf, drill down from aggregate data visualizations that give you aggregate high-level view of information about your web property at a glance, down into sub-cohorts of sessions that allow you to segment and understand sub-cohorts of your users and sessions, and then deeper into individual user sessions to understand what is it about those sub-cohorts that is special and that you want to pivot from and learn about, to learn about how customers are both succeeding and having issues, and to promote the things that work and to rectify the things that don't. And I guess with that, I will throw it back to Kevin.
Much appreciated, Eric, and thank you for that insight. Yeah, let me go ahead and grab control back from you. It'll just take me a second. Great, and perfect timing because we just hit the 45-minute mark and we want to make sure we get folks in and out in the time that we promised them we would. So thank you, both Tim and Eric, for your insights and for keeping us on pace. Much appreciated there. It rarely works out that you go exactly up to the minute that you wanted to stop, but thank you all for that. I'm going to go ahead and pause the recording.